Leroy, you know we're excited for this weekend. We got Canelo Alvarez in town. He's going to be fighting at Hard Rock Stadium. We don't get big-time boxing events down here in Miami. Typically, we get like the regional shows. You know we like going out to this. This is big time. Canelo is in town. DAZN is broadcasting it. You guys can go and check it out on DAZN this weekend, Saturday night. And we have two-thirds of the broadcast team here with us. Chris Mannix, Sergio Mora join us. Guys, thanks for the time. Really appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Good morning.
Thanks for having us, man. So before we get into the fight, guys, now Leroy and I are very excited about going to the fight. The last time we went to a fight together, it was Manny Pacquiao versus Keith Thurman. And Leroy was giving me nonstop grief because I stopped concession stand wise before we went to Manny Pacquiao, and I got myself a churro for my fight snack. He finds this not to be an appropriate boxing snack. So as two veterans of the boxing game, is a churro, is that an acceptable boxing snack when watching two people smack each other upside the head?
Well, listen, a churro is always a good idea. So you did say churro, right? That beautiful Mexican snack that's surrounded by caramel and sugar.
Yep.
It's always a good time for churro. Just wash it down with something.
A grown-ass man should not be carrying around a 2-foot snack at a fighting event. And he was dancing because he was so happy. Oh, Leroy, a churro! I'm like, come on, man. You're embarrassing us.
It was the perfect thing, man. It was a delicious snack, and then we watched everybody go nuts because Pacquiao put Thurman on the ground. I was like, what a day. It made it perfect.
Listen, it's delicious. It's probably a bad look, is what Leroy is saying.
Yes.
Okay, yes. I get where you're going now. So yes, you know what? Bad idea at a boxing event.
But this one, guys, like, look. I'm not, we know that Yildirim is not like some big threat to Canelo. We're just happy to have the show here. And I'm happy that Canelo is active. Just the idea that he is doing this fight in Miami. What do you think you want to see in this event? Is this like you want to go see Canelo go smash this guy and just kind of get everybody hyped up for Cinco de Mayo? Like, there's no real threat here, is there?
Not really, at least not from what I've seen of Yildirim on film. He's got a new trainer in Joel Diaz who swears up and down that he's, done things to change it. But you hear that all the time when a new trainer comes on board. Yildirim is very robotic. He doesn't have strong power, so it's not like he's going to, slow Canelo down. I think Canelo's not the type to go out and go first round knockout, but I think he's going to pick his spots early and then catch Yildirim with something he doesn't see early on. And Sergio, who has been caught many times with punches he hasn't seen, he can probably attest to the danger in that.
I've only been stopped one time, and I've seen all the punches coming, even that snappy jab of yours, Mannix. The punches that he doesn't see is the uppercut because he keeps his hands up. And whenever you keep your hands up like that, you don't have that 360 vision. And usually it's the body shots or the uppercuts. And Yildirim was stopped with an uppercut, right uppercut by Chris Eubanks. Only time he's been stopped. And then with Darrell, he was hurt to the body as well. That was his last fight. And those are Canelo's two best punches. He picks them up nicely, just like Mike Tyson used to. You go to the body and pick them up upstairs, and then from there, the onslaught begins. Like Chris touched on. Yildirim doesn't have the speed to keep Canelo off. He doesn't fight at distance. He likes to pressure and get inside, and that's what gives Canelo issues. He doesn't have the footwork to stay around the perimeter. He has nothing that has given Canelo any issues. Mayweather, Lara, Austin Trout, all these guys have what I just mentioned. Yildirim doesn't have any.
When you say a guy is technical, or robotic, I kind of think of a fighter that's trying so hard to look good that he doesn't look fluid in ring. He looks rather stiff. And is that what you take from that? Is that he looks like he wants to look like a boxer so bad that he's not boxing?
Yeah, in a way. I mean, I look at Yildirim, and you remember the movie Real Steel? Like he's like the human version of that, like where it's just like hands up, kind of, just very trying to be fundamental. But that doesn't work against a fighter with the adaptability of Canelo, who just kind of sees what you're doing, processes it, and then shows you three different looks. I mean, Callum Smith in his last fight came into that fight with a game plan. He was going to jab. He was going to, move around and do things to Canelo. Then he comes in and Canelo's setting traps for him, and he's flustering Smith. And then, the cherry on top is that Canelo did what I had never seen a fighter do, at least not on that level, where he literally was punching the jab arm of Callum Smith so he could rupture his bicep. Canelo wasn't going for the head knockout. He was going for the ruptured bicep, and he accomplished it. And he forced, Smith not to be able to jab as much because his arm was in too much pain. I mean, I don't think you can be the type of fighter we've seen Yildirim be against Canelo and hope to have any chance.
The movie Real Steel, I did the boxing moves for that, right?
Hey, dude, I was in it. I was reporter number 1 in Real Steel. I had a cameo in that movie. True story.
I like
I was in
Steel.
Detroit.
Hey, true story here too. I had to put on the little suit and do the moves. But anyway, regardless,
I tried to, for just one day, I tried to pick up Kate from Lost there. What's her real name? Evangeline Lilly. She's the star of that movie. Love Kate from Lost.
Back to Yildirim. So yeah, he doesn't have the speed. He doesn't have he has the size. He has the imposing will. He has a new trainer. He talks a good game. We've seen this before as a promotion, but as a fighter, and you're always in these fighter meetings, you're always discussing these, you're hearing the same story. Once in a while, you might get a curveball of honesty and a guy coming to the table saying, look, man, I know the cards are against me. I had a good camp. He's humble about it. There's a humility and a confidence there. We don't see that with Yildirim, and sometimes that works off. That pays off. We don't know until they get in the ring, but just studying the numbers, breaking down the numbers. If you've already been stopped on the championship level, and you were in a good fight coming off your last fight, which you're probably losing on one judge at least, to go up against the number 1 fighter on the planet, it just doesn't look good, and the writing's on the wall.
Do you think?
All that said, Sergio, I would say this. All that said, while this would be, one of the biggest upsets in boxing history, bigger than Buster Douglas, Mike Tyson, at least statistically, based on some of the odds that I'm seeing. We just called a fight a couple of weeks back where a trainer did make a big difference. Shavkat Rakhimov, working for the first time with Freddie Roach, looked like a completely different fighter than the guy I had seen up to that going against Jojo Diaz. He had better stamina. He was better offensively. So it's happened where fighters are positively impacted by trainers. The variable in all this is that in this fight, your first fight, you're going up against the best fighter in the world.
And I've
never seen a stiff fighter change trainers and become not stiff.
Right. And it does feel like
that's just his style.
Well, listen, I can think of one right now. Oscar De La Hoya was kind of robotic, but he was so explosive with his hands, and he had a long jab. Everything, but he was very robotic. His footwork, and he moved around like this. But he was just so explosive with his hands that it didn't matter that he was, kind of stiff like that. But he switched trainers a lot, and I seen a difference when he went with Mayweather. When he went with the Professor, when he fought Chavez, the Professor made him be a little bit more bouncy on his feet and more loose with his combinations. So yeah, they can make a difference, and this is just off the top of the head. But if I start, researching, which I'm going to do now about Oscar De La Hoya, I'm gonna bring up certain facts that you could see where the switch was and the difference was, and what did he do? Because De La Hoya, he switched trainers 4, 5, 6 times.
Yeah, but can you also have to be able to see that in a boxer? So some of the things that you're talking about with De La Hoya, even though he looked stiff, some of the things that he did with how he boxed was very athletic. So he could go that way, but that doesn't work with everybody.
And to that point, like you're talking about a all-time great who was a great in the amateurs, Floyd Mayweather, all-time great. Avni Yildirim is not on that list. He does not have the kind of background that De La Hoya and Mayweather have, or the natural skills to make those adjustments. I just think, look, and Sergio can attest this, like sometimes when you see guys change trainers, they talk a good game, but then when a fight starts and it becomes a firefight, they revert to what they know. And I think Yildirim, when he's faced with the pressure of Canelo, is going to revert to what he knows and get hit with something he doesn't see.
I think with
that's just being a person, not a fighter. We always resort to whatever's comfortable. But yes, you make a good point.
With Canelo, do you guys his last performance against Callum Smith was tremendous. and maybe we'll do have him as number one guy. Like, do you think he's getting better? Like, because I thought watching that performance, I just feel like he just keeps getting new tricks. He does keep getting more impressive, and I think that's the thing that you kind of marvel about a guy who's been a star since the age that he has been a pro as long as he's been. That he does feel like he's still getting new tricks and is improving on his game. So when people tune in on Saturday and the greatness they're seeing in the ring, are they seeing a guy who still has levels that he's reaching?
I think he's peaking right now. And a part of that is the input of Eddie Reynoso, his trainer, who is probably sewn up trainer of the year at this point. He worked the corner of Ryan Garcia. Garcia knocks out Luke Campbell. Last week, Oscar Valdez, he had an upset win over Miguel Burchell. Now you have Canelo, who is the protege of Eddie Reynoso, and they come up with these phenomenal game plans. I've been talking to guys that they fought and trainers of guys that they fought. Every time you go up against Canelo, you think you're going to see something, and they bring a new wrinkle to that game, a unique game plan. So you have the gifts that Canelo has, which are superior to 99% of other fighters out there. And then you have the game plans that are brought to the table by Eddie Reynoso. It's just an incredible combination. I don't know that you're going to see him get markedly better than what he is right now, because he's number one pound for pound, at least on any credible list. And he's, got the natural skills of better than anyone out there. But I think he can sustain this level for the next 2 or 3 years, to the point where you can't point to anybody in boxing, really from 154 to 175, that you think can beat him. I don't think there's anybody out there in those 4 weight divisions that can touch him.
Hunger and motivation is what makes great fighters great. When they've been on top so long, and Canelo's been a professional fighter half of his life, since he was 15 years old. Half of his life he's been on top, he's been professional. So we know he's good enough to be great, but what keeps him there? And that's conquering new challenges, and biting off more than he can chew, taking on these challenges. And that's something that you can't teach. So Eddie Reynoso is there to guide him, but Canelo has that embedded in him. And that's why he's one of the special fighters of our generation. Mayweather had that embedded in him. Every great fighter had that. There's guys that are close to that, but they didn't have all the attributes. So what we're seeing on Saturday is greatness, hunger, motivation, the trainer, everything wrapped up in one package. And that's why everyone's excited.
To me, Sergio, here's the only question with Canelo, and Sergio and I argue about this all the time. Can Canelo Alvarez become the greatest Mexican boxer ever? Like, there is a deep well of talent in Mexican boxing, probably deeper than anywhere perhaps outside of the United States. And it probably could rival the United States. But at the top, you've got Chavez, you got Ruben Olivares, you got Salvador Sanchez. These are legends. Canelo's 30 years old. Can he become the greatest Mexican fighter of all time? I talked to him about it this week. He says that is absolutely something he wants to accomplish by the time his career is over. But Sergio and I disagree. I think he can. Sergio will,
Fellas, what do you think? Fellas, your opinion. It's your show.
Well, it's probably, I would say I'm a Chavez guy because I'm a little bit older. And I think, especially in boxing, everybody's present day. Like if you have a star in your weight class, then you're going to ride that guy as long as you possibly can. And you forget about, the guys that fought before them. But I wish, me personally, to answer that question, I wish there was some way he could fight Floyd Mayweather again. I know it's probably not possible, but he was so young, and it kind of started him off, with everybody thinking a certain way about him. If he had started off undefeated and got to this point and then lost and then rebounded, we would have thought a lot differently of him than he started his career off with that loss to one of the greats. And so all these other boxers, they built up their career and then they started losing. And so that's why he's going to lose a little bit from that standpoint.
It also feels like a tough ghost for him to go chase, because you're talking about such an icon in his country already, and now it feels like he has to create things for himself to go chase. Who are the guys will, because I feel like boxing fans are so fickle. all right, if he ends up going and beating, everybody at 168, they're gonna be like, all right, who was Caleb Plant? What did that mean? Was that a real accomplishment? So I think he is in a tough spot, because he is the number one star. On top of the fact he has to go find somebody who people think is a legit challenge to him, for him to get that kind of credit.
It's a generational.
It is.
Go ahead, Sergio.
It's a generational thing, and I wanted to hear what you guys said, and I'm more on Leroy's point that he's trying to make. It's whatever you grew up watching, and we grew up watching Chavez. So whatever age you are, that's what you think's going to be great. And I threw this question back to Mannix. He covers basketball. Michael Jordan is the greatest. No one's ever going to top Michael Jordan. He has his own shoe. I mean, Jordan is a name, but Kobe Bryant goes up there. If you look at the resume, LeBron James is going to pass him soon, and I don't know. No one's going to top Kobe for me. No one's going to top Chavez for me. It's just that's my generation.
Yeah.
But the next generation, the younger one, that's going to be different.
And we all saw with
because LeBron doesn't have his own shoe, Sergio. That's a real thing.
I think do any of us have his own shoe? No.
They all have their own shoe. Everybody has their own shoe. I think the 12th guy in the Heat. I think Tyler Hero has his own shoe at this point. Everybody's got their own shoe in the NBA right now. And look, you say that not to bring basketball all the way into this, but you say that it's just so obvious that Jordan is better than LeBron. You walk out the street here in Miami, there's probably going to be at least 50, 60% that probably say LeBron is better than Jordan. And LeBron still has, by the way, years to go. And that's my point with Canelo Alvarez. Canelo, I think, is going to finish his career with a stronger overall resume than anyone in Mexican boxing history, including Chavez. Chavez had some great wins. The Meldrick Taylor win was impressive. Greg Hagan was impressive. But then he had the draw with Pernell Whitaker. He lost to De La Hoya. I think that over the next 4 years, if we see Canelo Alvarez unify the titles at 168, and if we see him move up, which you and I have discussed, to fight for the undisputed light heavyweight championship, going from 154 to undisputed at 175, which I don't think has ever happened. If we see him do that, I'm sorry. No matter what kind of mystique Chavez has, you got to look at Canelo as being the best.
Tyler Heroes.
The other thing is, when I was growing up,
it's not a shoe. Heroes.
When I was growing up, all the stars fought each other. So we have all these big time fights to talk about, and nowadays it's every third fight you fight a big fight. And so they're so spread out, and your career is so spread out that when they fight these guys like this fight on Saturday, you start thinking about all the other guys. Oh, remember he went back to back, fought this guy, and they all clashed. I have the same problem in the heavyweight division, is that guys don't fight. I remember when Tyson was coming, there were so many fights we wanted to see that never happened, and something happened to Tyson. Something happened to this guy. This guy didn't beat this guy, and they never panned out. That's what's killing me in boxing right now, and it's hard to compare because guys aren't on equal levels when they actually finally do fight.
I would say this, I agree with all that. That is a plague cursing boxing right now, that guys don't fight each other. Canelo, though, is the exception to that rule. Yes, he's fighting Avni Yildirim, but this is penciled in as the first of 4 fights this year, which would be 5 fights in 12 months, 4 of which are probably going to be big-time fights. Callum Smith, despite the fact that he got destroyed, was considered by many, including me, to be the top guy at 168. Up next, Billy Joe Saunders, undefeated title holder at 168. Caleb Plant after that, and maybe we get the 3rd fight with Gennady Golovkin before the end of the year. I mean, look, De La Hoya fought everybody, and De La Hoya had a year, I think it was 1997, where he fought 5 times. 3 of those fights were really good, but 2 of them were kind of mandatory title defenses. So as long as Canelo's entire year is not taken up by bad fights, he can get a pass to fight Avni Yildirim. He's going to go on and fight 3 more times this year against other top guys, and he's the only one doing that. I mean, look at his resume. Look at his resume. Year after year, fight after fight, it's top guy, it's world champion. There are very few gimmies on Canelo Alvarez's resume.
Before we get you guys out of here, the other big fight that is staring down the road, Leroy mentioned the heavyweight division. Tyson Fury, Anthony Joshua, you guys are on the inside of this. Is this thing going to happen? When are we getting this announced? Because we had Eddie Hearn on 4 weeks ago. He says, oh man, it's going to get announced in like a week, and I still don't see an announcement. I see Tyson Fury's pissed because he didn't stay active about not having the fight. So where does that stand, and what do you think that the chips are all gonna fall with the heavyweight division? Like let's say in a year's time.
Yeah, I talked to Bob Arum and Eddie Hearn in the last few days about this specifically, and they're both expressing optimism. It's a very complicated deal, if for no other reason than there's like 7 TV networks that might be involved at this point.
Yeah.
And as we saw with Mayweather-Pacquiao, I mean, TV networks and the commitments you have to them can slow things down. But nothing I've heard up until this point suggests that the deal is in any danger. They've agreed fundamentally on a 50-50 split, which is a massive thing to have already agreed upon. And what Eddie Hearn told me a couple of days ago was that they're now evaluating what could be as many as 6 potential locations for that fight. There's not a huge sense of urgency, even though we'd all like to see it happen, because you do want to see if Vegas opens up in the next couple of months, and will Vegas come in with a big offer for that fight? What does the Middle East have to offer? How much does the UK clean up in the next couple of months once this the vaccine sort of works its way through that community? So I having covered way too many of these negotiations that have failed, I am pretty confident that by midsummer of 2021, we'll get the first of what will be back-to-back fights between AJ and Fury.
I'm optimistic it happens. I think too much history is on the line, and both these guys have the character of champions that want to be a part of that, because it's something bigger than them. And in the 4-belt era, I mean, too much politics is involved, and that's why it never happens. Like Mannix mentioned, promoters and networks. But for some reason, I don't know, some little magic in the air. I just think Tyson Fury will be able to give up a little bit more of his purse just to make this happen, and vice versa with Joshua. These guys won't draw a line in the sand financially just to stop it. I think it happens.
From their last performances, like, do you think that Tyson is clearly better than him right now, or do you think that AJ does have a shot against him?
I think he's got more than a shot. I mean, as we've seen many times in boxing, just because fighter A beats fighter B doesn't mean fighter A beats fighter C. It's all about styles and how they make fights. And, Deontay Wilder was exposed in the Fury fights for his lack of boxing skills. And if you can't knock him out cold or knock an opponent out cold, Wilder is limited as a top-level heavyweight. What Joshua has that's different than Wilder is he has a much higher level of boxing skill. I mean, he's an Olympic gold medalist who has beaten some top guys. Probably is the best resume still of any heavyweight that's out there. And he's a finisher. I mean, when he hurts you, he has a great knack for going out there and finishing you off. So if he buckles Tyson Fury at some point, he's going to be able to charge in there and throw enough punches to finish him off. Not to say he's a favorite. Fury does a lot of things well too, and he's going to box the ears, I think, off of Joshua when he has his moments going. But to me, this remains very much a coin flip type of fight, which makes it the most exciting heavyweight fight, certainly in the time I've been covering boxing. And you have to probably go back to the mid-1990s when those guys were going at it to find one that's better.
What do you think of that matchup, Sergio?
I would favor Tyson Fury. I just, I like fighters that can use the ring, use their upper body, have defense, then have the strength to hurt you, have the strength, the fortitude, the mentality. Tyson Fury has all that. And with Joshua, we've seen a little dent with that Andy Ruiz fight. We've seen how he handled the big moment on the big stage when things weren't going his way. So we've seen a little doubt in him. But then again, 6 months later or 8 months later, whenever it was, when they rematched, we saw a completely different Anthony Joshua box on his toes, box discipline. That means he has different chapters in his career. That means he has different ways of trying to win. And I think he'll do it for 12 rounds. So now I don't think we've seen everything of Anthony Joshua. I would favor Fury slightly, but never doubt Joshua. I mean, this is a man with a lot of wrinkles in his game.
Well, we appreciate you guys spending so much time with us. We're looking forward to the fights. We're looking forward to going. We're going to Hard Rock to check out Canelo. But if you guys want to check it out, Canelo Alvarez, Avni Yildirim going on DAZN. Chris Mannix, Sergio Mora, they do a great job on the broadcast. So subscribe, tune into them on Saturday night to watch the entire card. Locally, if you guys want to check it out, Aaron Aponte, who's a local boxer. He's in his second fight, so you guys can root for somebody from Hialeah as well. Check it all out there. It's going to be a great show from Miami, and it's great that we're getting a big-time event down here. Thanks so much, guys. We really appreciate it.
Thanks.
By the way,
appreciate it.
Sergio is still looking for his final fight. So if you guys know anybody around 160, Sergio initially insisted he wants $500,000, but I've been told it's been lowered to like an Uber Eats gift card and maybe a ride to the venue. So he's good to go.
Guys, just make sure to bring your Jordans. Wear your Jordans to the fight.
I can't kick my LeBrons. I can't wear my LeBrons.
All right.
I think Ronnie Cycli had sneakers, his own sneaker. I mean, come
I'm
on.
telling you, go to while
It's
you're
a pleasure,
down.
guys.
Once you're out of the bubble, go to Winn Dixie. Get yourself some heroes. You know, you got
I like it.
it's the breakfast going. I'm telling you, and then they're on sale now too.
I don't know. I got a churro on my mind now.
Yes, delicious. All right, boys. Thank you so much.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.